What is going on, internet? My name is Lou and I make Linux videos and I put them on the internet. So a few things I'd like to clear up right at the top of this video. First and foremost, the distribution I'm using here currently is Elementary OS Luna. This is a daily build. The application that I'm using to record this screencast is FFmpeg, and that is what you see currently running up in the top right hand corner of my screen. And I will also be including a link to download this wallpaper here. I'm constantly getting asked about my wallpapers. Apparently, I've got good taste in wallpapers, which is pretty cool. So I'm glad you guys like them. I'll include a download link for this particular one I'm using here. And I've been asked a lot lately to do a review on the latest release of Ubuntu, which is 12.10. So I want to put this out there and say that one of the nicest things about Linux is all the choices that we have. Now, if you're using Windows, if you're using Mac OS X, you've got one option, unless you use an older iteration of that one option. For us, we have all these different distributions and desktop environments, and there's just so much that's out there for us to use. And honestly, if I don't like something, that doesn't mean you don't have to like it. To each his own. So if I don't like, say, Unity, we're going to be discussing Unity today, and spoiler alert, I hate Unity. What's frustrating is I think it has potential, but in its current state, it's just awful. And I'll get into some of those reasons once we get into the distro review. But, if I don't like a particular desktop environment, and you do, that's fine. I don't have any objections to anybody liking a particular desktop environment. My opinion and my taste isn't the only one, so you guys are allowed to have and use whatever you like. So the fact that we all get to basically run certain flavors of Linux and certain desktop environments just makes everything interesting, and it really honestly just makes Linux that much more of a desirable operating system to use. So, I'm not going to get into a big war about what desktop environment is the best. Currently, the desktop environment I'm using is Pantheon. It's a custom shell from Elementary OS, and I enjoy it quite a bit. But, again, if you like Unity and you don't particularly agree with everything I'm saying in this video, that's 100% fine. You're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have mine. And we can all still be happy. We can all still use Linux, and we can all still be friends. So, that is that. So we're going to get into reviewing Ubuntu 12.10. I have it installed here in this particular virtual machine. I did allocate 4 gigs of RAM. Let me just say that you will most likely see a lot of crashes. Now, this very well could be because of the install in this particular virtual machine. However, I did have this installed on my hardware natively, and I was experiencing the same things. So, first and foremost, the Unity bar here is still ugly as sin. I mean, we're still using these brown and purple colors, these god-awful icons. Everything is just still ridiculously ugly. I know there's that big argument out there right now with desktop environments like GNOME Shell that everything's built for touchscreens. I would say that in the latest iteration of GNOME Shell 3.6, it's even more apparent now that it's being designed for touch. Unity, however, again, I mean, these big, bubbly, ugly icons, just, if you're using a mouse and keyboard, these are just terrible. Look at Elementary OS Luna. Again, I mean, it's clean, it's elegant. When you open up the applications, they've got just these nice GTK themes and defined lines, and everything just looks crisp. When you open up Ubuntu, you just get these big, bubbly, oh, there's one of the errors, big, bubbly icons that just look terrible. So again, they've now had Unity out since 11.04. Okay, we've had 4 releases. We're talking 2 years. They could have got this right. If you're going to use this, and again, I'm going to make the same beef I did about Plank. Now, Plank's, admittedly, it's not done. Okay, again, this is a daily unstable build, so there's still work to be done on Plank's behalf. But if you're going to make this the central focus of your operating system and how the user interacts with that operating system, there needs to be more settings. You need to have more customization and more options, because honestly, in its current state, it's not much farther along than it was back in 11.04. You know, when you go into the appearance setting here, you can change the size of the launcher icons, and you can change how the icon or the bar itself actually hides. That's it. And you can see down here too, here's another one of my beefs. Anytime you open up, you know, more than a few of the default icons that come in the Unity bar here, everything gets squished. I mean, if we come over here to the dash and we open up a terminal window, say, look at this. You can't tell me that we can't get this right. That looks awful. Okay, when you open up a bunch of icons and everything just gets squished like that, it just looks terrible. That needs to get fixed. One of the big pushes here in 12.10 is integrating your desktop with the web. So I have no problem with that. In fact, I think some of the things they're doing is actually kind of cool. But again, it's not going to be that feature that's going to get you to upgrade from 12.04. So if we open up Firefox and we have a system lock. Awesome. All right, we're just going to power down the machine. We'll power it back up again. Oh boy. This has happened to me quite a few times. Again, not sure if it's the VirtualBox install or if it's Ubuntu 12.10. This is a 100% updated system too, by the way. All right, let's open up Firefox. When you go to a site like Facebook, you know what? It's actually not asking me now. Let's go to when you go to a site like OMG Ubuntu, you see down here that there's a this little icon. That's because when you go to a certain websites, you'll have a dialog box that comes up and asks you if you want to install a certain application to give you access to more features for that particular website. So, for instance, I installed the OMG Ubuntu. Another nice little error there. Option here, so it'll show up in my dash. Essentially, what this ends up being is just for OMG Ubuntu anyway. It ends up being just a quick URL link over to the website, and it doesn't really add any more functionality. If you were to go to, say, Gmail and install the Gmail link, it's going to show you the number of unread messages you have. Facebook integrates some of the messaging features, which is kind of cool. So I do like that. I think it's a kind of a slick feature. One of the other features I do like in this particular release is if you search for something like Mumford & Sons, it's going to give you some Amazon suggestions. Now they're integrating these Amazon search results here to try to generate some revenue, which I honestly have no problem with. I do shop on Amazon, and so, you know, if I were to be running this as a daily driver, I would leave that enabled. Now you can go into your settings and disable these Amazon search results to be displayed. However, I have no problem supporting a distribution that I use. If you right click on this particular suggestion here, it's going to bring this real slick preview up here in the lens. Now again, this is new, and these previews are in 12.10, and I do like that. I really do. But honestly, this is such a buggy release, and aside from integrating certain aspects of the web with the new Unity bar, and aside from some new animations, and of course your standard updated packages, there is no game changer to upgrade to Ubuntu 12.10 in my opinion. If you're running the long-term support release and you're perfectly happy, you know, in terms of what I recommend you upgrading to 12.10, I would probably just stay on 12.04. These bugs need to get worked out, and honestly, you know, Unity's been around long enough where this is just atrocious. Something needs to get done. The global menu is still here and very poorly implemented. It's inconsistent. Again, they borrow this idea from Mac OS. If you're going to take an idea from someone else, which Apple's famous for doing, you need to improve upon it, make it better. Apple takes a lot of ideas that other people already have, and they make them great, and they improve upon them, okay? I have no problem with someone who does it that way. But when you take an idea and then have a poor implementation, it just looks like a second-rate product, which the global menu still feels like. It feels like a second-rate product. This particular shell, the Unity shell, does just not feel like something that should be used on a desktop. Now, I had argued prior that GNOME shell felt more at home on a desktop than the Unity shell. You know, it's glaringly apparent in the newest iteration, which is 3.6, that, you know, again, they're kind of, you know, the GNOME team is kind of going the way of the Ubuntu team, and making it just so glaringly apparent that it's just made for touchscreen. I really hope that the elementary team can get some steam behind them. I hope they can get some more developers on. They can get a steady release cycle in place so that they don't lose users in between really long periods of inactivity and long periods of just not releasing anything. Because, you know, honestly, this is, if it wasn't for elementary OS, you know, I may have given up hope on the state of the current Linux desktop, honestly. So elementary OS is giving me promise. It's the desktop that I'm going to be using now for the unforeseeable future, and definitely not going back into Unity. I was hoping that they would change the game in 12.10. I'm going to cross my fingers for 13.04 6 months from now, but, you know, honestly, it's just one disappointment after the next every 6 months, it seems, with Ubuntu. It's still a great base. They still have good repos. The kernel team still does decent work. So right now, the only thing Ubuntu is good for is to build another distribution on top of. Because in terms of Ubuntu itself, it's 2 thumbs down still. You know, my early criticisms of Unity came with the understanding that it was still in its infancy, but, you know, here we are. It first released in 11.04, and now it's 12.10, and we still just have one big pile of garbage. You know, I don't mean to seem harsh, but it's just that awful. You know, again, if you like Unity, that's great. I'm glad it works for you. If you can really make your workflow just smooth within the Unity environment, then all the power to you. I'm glad. And my opinion is not the only opinion, and my opinion doesn't mean it's, you know, universally true for everyone. However, for me, it's just terrible. So hopefully in 13.04, you know, the Canonical and the Ubuntu team can really, you know, change the game and make that, you know, Ubuntu used to be that distro that everybody else had to really compete with, but it just continues to get worse and worse. It's sad, you know. I used to get so excited when I would go onto DistroWatch and see new releases of distributions, but there just hasn't been anything recently other than elementary that's excited me, and I'm starting to lose faith here, you know. I hope we find our way in the Linux world again, because it just feels like everyone's wandering out in no man's land trying to find themselves here in the desktop environment world, and it's just, I'm getting weary. But anyway, hopefully you guys like this video. That's my take on Ubuntu 12.10. Very short, sweet, and to the point. I'm not going through all of the applications that are installed and, you know, little feature by little feature. That's just not how I roll. You guys who have been subscribed to me for a while know that. You know, I'm just going to, you know, quickly pick out the things I like and I don't like, and I'm going to give you my spin on it. So that's my review. Do me a favor, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. It lets me know that you appreciate the videos, that you enjoy the content, because if you enjoy the content, I'll keep making it. So until next time, guys, I hope you do well, and we will see you later.